You're listening to the New Jersey Real Estate Investor Podcast. We talk about all topics related to being a real estate investor in the Garden State, based on our experiences with buying, selling, managing, and building rentals. So together, we can all be better investors. Now, here is your host, Pete Tverdov.
Okay, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the New Jersey Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Tverdov, here with my main man, Andrew. And what are we even doing today? What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about you.
Okay. So Andrew's idea was to, I guess, dive into a little bit about myself, my company. He wanted to ask me a bunch of questions and kind of put me on the spot and have me tell my story a little bit of, how Tverdov Housing became what it is today. So I think we're going to kind of reverse roles, right? Like you're going to be taking the lead, and you're going to be doing all the talking.
I'm going to host this one.
All right, I'll shut up and let you take it from here.
Okay, so a little summary of who you are, right? I think people are interested to know this. You are a real estate investor. You own a construction company.
Yep.
You own a property management company. You are a business owner. You're often the top real estate agent in New Brunswick. I think some people listening to this podcast would get a lot of use out of understanding, how did this come about? How did you get to where you are today? Obviously, hard work, ethic, maybe a little luck. But I think that is an intriguing question. Someone looking at you, looking at what you do, whether it's through building, your videos, your signs all around New Brunswick. Who is this guy? How did he get here? What's made him so successful? Let's just sort of pick up post-high school. We all know you went to Rutgers. You're a very athletic guy. You played football. You graduate college. What year did you graduate?
2009.
All right, so you graduate college in 2009. My question to you is, what made you get into your first career? I know what it is. Our listeners don't. But to the outside observer, they're going to think, here's a guy who's primed for sports management, coaching, something in the athletic field. Tell us about your first job post-college and why you went that direction.
So when I was at Rutgers, I changed my major like 4 times because you're a young kid. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. And I decided probably by my senior year, I was like, I want to work in finance, which is an incredibly broad term. I didn't take a math class at Rutgers because I wasn't that good at math. I mean, I could do 5th grade math, but outside of like elementary algebra, I struggled. So, I wanted to work in finance, and I did play football at Rutgers, and I was one of the guys who took the networking opportunities seriously, like a lot of people didn't. And so my roommate, we call him Jam Jam. I'm not going to say his real name, but if Jam Jam, if you're listening, shout out to you, bro. I slept in a bunk bed, and he told me something that really changed my life. He was, and this is probably going to upset a couple people, because I wanted to be a police officer, so I thought, right? And he was like, Pete, like anybody can become a police officer. He's like, if you want to work in finance, find a way to do it. You could always go back and apply to be a police officer. And this is no disrespect to police officers, because I have a couple clients who are officers. So basically his advice was like, shoot your shot, right? Like, you're young, like what do you have to lose? So I did that. I networked my ass off. I had a 2.5 GPA.
Wow.
No finance classes, no business classes, no math classes. And the unemployment rate was like, I mean, this is 2009 now, right?
Yeah.
So the unemployment rate was like between 8 and 10%. Who the hell would hire somebody like that?
Right.
And I got lucky. I went to a networking event. I was the only football guy that showed up. And then I went to another one that they had just for football guys. And I met a guy and kind of told him what I wanted to do. And he was like, you should meet my friend. And I met his friend, who I'm still friends with today. Ironically, I live in the same town with him now.
Oh, really?
And he's like, hey, do you want to come on like the trading floor of the commodities exchange? So for anyone who's ever seen Trading Places, that's a very, that's a Hollywood version of what it was like where I worked. But I worked at a place like that, my first job out of Rutgers. And I interned with them over the summer for free. They reimbursed my train ticket into the city. So I commuted from home that whole summer and just learned. I knew nothing. Mm-hmm. They had me take a math test to see what my math skills were, and I bombed it. And, the guy, his name was Phil. The guy's like, don't worry about that. He kind of like crumpled it up and threw it away. And
do you think your previous experience as a football player, was beneficial? Did it teach you like discipline and working hard? Do you think that sort of transferred over? You're out of college now. You're no longer playing ball. I'm sure you felt like that.
No doubt, dude. Yeah. So honestly, that's why I like hiring athletes, because athletes work with a diverse group of people, right? Like, think about an athlete. Name your favorite sport. Mm-hmm. They're playing with white guys. They're playing with black guys. They're playing with Spanish guys. They're playing with Asian guys. Mm-hmm. They're playing with poor people. They're playing with rich people. They're playing with jerks. They're playing with snooty people, right? So you learn how to work with people from all walks of life. So on the football team, we had guys from the hood in Miami or the hood in Newark.
Right.
We had guys who were born with a silver spoon up their ass from Princeton or wherever it is, or Basking Ridge, mm-hmm. right? So you learn to work with those people because you're a team. And then on top of that, you get your rear end chewed out every day.
Yeah.
Right? So like for the real world, it's almost like it's a light version of military training, without a doubt in my mind.
I can see that. Yeah. The discipline, it's rigorous.
Yeah, so that's why how I am, mm-hmm. Now.
Yeah.
So anyway, to kind of speed up the original point. So yeah, my first job out of college was basically working on Wall Street at an options trading firm where they traded commodity futures and options. And I learned an enormous amount of math skills and business skills in the 3 years that I worked there.
Okay. So, all right, let's jump ahead. So you're working on Wall Street. You're a 9-to-5 wage slave, right? Mm. It's going well. You're adapting well. Why real estate? Did you have any prior experience or exposure to real estate? Did you have a family member that was an agent? What piqued your initial interest in real estate of all the things you could have jumped into?
Yeah, so my grandparents rented their whole life, didn't own anything. My parents bought something probably in their 40s. They bought a house, late 30s, early 40s. And the light bulb for me went on my senior year at Rutgers. Like, I had to sign a lease. So I ultimately signed a lease to room with my buddy Jam and his other friends. And I remember looking at the lease, and I'm like, damn, we're going to pay Frank $28,000 a year?
Yeah.
And my roommate was like, yeah, man, he owns 7 of these. I was like, he owns 7 of these? It's like, what does he do for a living? And my buddy's like, oh, he's a teacher. Ping.
Yeah.
Light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And now, without realizing like there's taxes and insurance and mortgages, I thought Frank was like, raking in $250,000 a year, which he was before expenses. And I was like, man, I want to do that like when I'm older.
And the fact that he was a teacher, did that lend itself to you thinking you could do this and something else?
Well, yeah, because people think like there's this notion in this country that like only rich people get rich. Mm-hmm. And it's completely false. Like, I think I've read studies on this. 10% of like quote unquote rich people were born rich. Mm-hmm. 90% are like first generation wealthy people.
And I think there's some stat about how most inherited wealth gets squandered after a few generations as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my next question, if you recall, how old were you when you bought your first house? And was it an investment property, or was it for somewhere for you to live, or was it both?
I was 26, bought it with my wife, who cried on the way home when I told her, like, this is where we're going to live. But to her credit, she actually, no one really knows this. It was her idea, and I'm blessed that, because not all women would be like, yeah, let's live in a slum and rent out units, so she gave me the idea and I just took it and ran with it.
And so it was in New Brunswick.
Yep.
So you're working your job, you got your girl, you're like, or maybe she was your wife at the time.
Yeah, we got married.
You're like, honey, we're going to buy a house, not only a house, but we're going to buy a multifamily. We're going to live in one unit. We're going to rent the other units. So how did that work? How did it snowball from there?
Well, you don't know what you don't know, man. So like when I bought my first one, I had to change the doorknob. It took me 90 minutes because it's not new construction. It was like a 100-year-old home. So the door's crooked, the side part of the door, it was like rotted out. So like I had to buy like, 3-inch long construction screws just to get the striker plate so it was just a disaster. Right.
Yeah.
And then, I I learned baptism by fire. And then after a couple months, you get it stabilized and you start making money. You're like, okay, this is pretty cool.
So it was profitable right away, more or less?
Yeah, after a couple months, I got it rented, and it was like, wow, okay, I could do this. So I immediately was like, well, how could I make more money to do this again?
Yeah.
So again, this is probably a terrible analogy, but it must be like what a drug addict feels like.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, how could I get another hit?
Yeah, chasing that high.
Yeah.
So you have your multifamily, and then in however broad you can frame it, because a lot of guys might say, well, I have a multifamily right now, I'm doing that, or I have a single family. How do I flip that to 2, 3, 4, 5 of them?
So here's what definitely drove me. Like, I wanted to buy more property, but I wanted to escape working corporate life like 5 times more. And for those of you listening, and if you work at a corporate job, and if you're like one of those robots, I just have to ask, what the hell happened to you? Like, were you like that in college? Were you like that in high school? Were you always so lame and walking on eggshells? Like, it just drove me nuts, man. Like, you would have meetings about meetings. Yeah. Like, you would get in at 9:15, you would, settle in, eat breakfast, and 10 o'clock before you even open an email. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And again, like, think of my football background. When we were working out at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, and this is no lie, dude. Coach Gianna was like, has a bullhorn yelling at you.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I mean. Like, so that's what I'm used to. And then I went into that. So, and I used to tell my wife this. She'd be, what'd you do today, babe? I'd be like, nothing.
Yeah.
I literally did no work today. I just BS'd on the internet.
Trying to look busy.
Yeah. And like, some people are like, that's great, man. I get paid a lot of money. Like, I can't live like that. So I was, that just drove me, man. I was like, I got to get the hell out of here.
So then you took your first property, you got a second.
Yeah. So the property I fixed up, I got it appraised a year later, and it increased in value like 20% because I forced appreciation on it. And then I took a line of credit out against it. And, by this time I had been saving more money. I think it was maybe 2 years, and I bought a second property. And the same thing happened. I bought that second property. I put some money in, fixed it up. And within like, I think a year, it appraised for what? 20%, 25% more. So I quickly realized, it's like, okay, if I could find houses where I could force appreciation, I could quickly multiply this. And then that second house, I didn't actually make money on it for like 3 years. Because remember, really? I took a line of credit, so I borrowed against it. So like, all the money I was making was just to pay down that line of credit. So the other thing I'll say, and a lot of people cannot do this in this world, I've learned to sacrifice for tomorrow. Sacrifice for 5 years from now. If you sacrifice every day for 5 years from now, right, and you save and you invest and you sacrifice for the future, one day the future has arrived. And you've been sacrificing for 5 years. And now the next 5 years, you already sacrificed for those years. And so now it almost becomes like a conveyor belt. So that's what I do. And and it just keeps, it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. So that's kind of how I started in the beginning.
And I know when I met you, you were still working on Wall Street.
Yeah. So I started managing property on the side, and to make a couple bucks. So the first year it paid for like a trip to Russia. And for those who don't know, my dad lives in Russia. And then the second year, I forget, it paid for something, maybe like another vacation. And then it started to get a little bit bigger. And then you kept bothering me.
Yeah. I hounded Pete for about 18 months for a job.
Yeah, I was like, what's this hipster want? So, and then, to his credit, I gave, Andrew a shot, and it's been great ever since. But so you've like really grown with it. Because when did you start? 2018 maybe?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. Like 2018, we probably had like 30 doors under management, Yeah. And I probably sold like one house a year. There was no construction company. So you've seen an enormous amount of growth.
So at this point, your goal now is probably to get out of the corporate world. You're building this up. You're snowballing it. You eventually jump out of the corporate world. What were your goals when you started, and what were your goals now? Or what are your goals now? Have they shifted? Have they changed? I know a part of that initial goal was, I want to get out of this 9 to 5. My talents, my skills are not being utilized here. Did you have any other ambitions at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see my kids grow up, Like the other thing, working on Wall Street and investment banking, people don't want to talk about their kids, like it's not for me, dude. They talk about their au pair and I took a sailing trip to Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares, dude?
Mm-hmm. Lame.
Like, hey, Ann, how's your son doing? Fine. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. You sound like a great mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they just, oh, I have a great au pair. I'm like, okay, so you don't see your kid? You don't, it's like for me, right? Like I get to drop my kids off to daycare.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
It's like and I know things have changed with work from home, but like pre-COVID, man, if you're working in the city, and those of you who listen to this, you're going to nod your head. You're probably you're listening to this on NJ Transit next to some jackass, right? Like that is a grind, man.
Yeah.
7 a.m. that train comes and you get home 6:30, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Right? So think about it. And then I want to go to the gym. So when my first daughter was born, I would, scarf down dinner, run to the gym. I get home, it's like 8:45. I'd see my kid for 10 minutes and she went to sleep. I was like, I have to change this now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously having a kid helped change things too. But yeah.
So did you know that you also wanted to expand into these new areas that you're currently occupying, like construction? Becoming a real estate agent, it seems like this all sort of unfolded pretty organically.
Yeah. I mean, so to be a property, I really started as a property manager, right? And I feel like that's what we're most known for. I will say, I feel like people struggle identifying like what Tverdov Housing is.
Yeah.
And truthfully, it's because like I struggle with it. And like today, what I know it as is like we deal with real estate investors. Like if you want to own, buy and hold real estate, if you want to get wealthy, you reach out to me. Period. Like I will make you wealthy if you listen to me. If you fight with me and argue with me, and like I know how to do it better. Okay, here's your keys back. There's the door. I wish you a lot of luck. But like I've made multiple clients. I shouldn't say we, like this company has made multiple clients 6 figures between cash flow, equity, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean that's probably what I would say about that.
Okay. Well, one of my last questions is, what do you really enjoy about what you do now in the whole real estate world? And what do you dislike about it? What gives you satisfaction in your day to day?
Well, so what let me touch on more about the previous question about all the businesses. So when I first started the property management business, you have to be licensed. So I got I actually got my real estate license to be a property manager. So I got my real estate license, which you're not supposed to do working on Wall Street, by the way. You get fired for that. Which like, this is what pisses me off about corporate America. God forbid I try to make a better life for my family. What's it your business if I'm a bartender, if I'm driving Uber, if I'm a bouncer, if I'm selling a house? Now, and look, I understand like, you have to be careful because like there's bribery. You could, I mean, based on where you work in Wall Street, you could have like highly sensitive information on a deal or something that could be considered like quote unquote insider trading, right? But like, so we would have like clowns on the trading desk who made $500,000 a year, and then they had their real estate license trying to sell a house. That's stupid. Yeah. But like, I wasn't one of those guys making $500,000 a year. I got paid very well, don't get me wrong, but what's your business if I want to drive Uber on the weekends? Why do I need to tell you that?
Yeah.
So what I did was I would do like one deal a year maybe. It would go under my broker's name. He would get the credit. I didn't really care because I wanted the commission. But yeah, so I got the license to manage property. And, as that grew, like I said, maybe I would sell like one house a year. And then in 2019, I remember that year, I was like, let me actually try to grow the management business. And I think, I basically doubled door count. We went from like 30-ish to like 70. And by then I was like, I'm quitting my job, And then ironically in 2019, I sold like 6 houses, maybe 7.
How did you get those first management clients? Was it word of mouth? Was it connections?
A lot of cold calling, and then like maybe one referral. It was a lot of cold calling. It was a lot of beating the bushes. I didn't know what I was doing. First management client I ever got, I charged no leasing fee, no lease renewal fee. He like wired me money in my personal account for like like maintenance. the rent would go to him. Then I would send him an invoice for like the property management. It was like so backwards.
Yeah. You were learning.
I was learning, and he was happy, and and it wound up working well. But and then as it grew, I would be trying to rent stuff for people. Like, dude, your bathroom is I can't. We got to fix your bathroom. Okay, do you know anyone who could fix it, Pete? Yeah. Like, so I would get it fixed for him at cost. And I started doing like 2 or 3 of those. In my head, I'm like, why am I not making money doing this?
Sure.
And then I started GCing my own projects because I'm also a real estate investor. So, so like I finished a basement and I was a GC. I'm like, okay. And then I GC'd my own house. So like we built a 700 square foot addition, right? And like digging a foundation and framing. And like, I was like, okay, I could do this. And then so COVID came and it was March. I had just quit my job in February, right? Horrible timing when you think about it.
Yeah.
And the one regret I have is I actually called up my boss in April. I was like, just in case things don't work out, maybe I need to come back. And I did that just to plant a seed. Yeah. I've regretted ever calling him because I never needed to do it. And he was basically like, you're SOL in a very nice way. He's like, we have a hiring freeze, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I started our construction company in March 2020.
Wow.
When like the whole world was panicking, I was like, screw this. I'm just, because first of all, what's it cost? Like the filing fees, right? So anyway, so we've done bigger and bigger work, and I've learned a hell of a lot along the way about construction, which I love doing that with Mike, my brother. So for those of you who don't know, like I'm also a licensed general contractor. We're fully insured, and we do big jobs. Like we do blueprint jobs, I call them. So like additions, new construction, finished basements. We'll do like a luxury kitchen or bathroom, something like that. But we do big stuff and we do nice stuff. And I learned very quickly how people cut corners in construction. I could have a whole podcast on that. So that's kind of how all that grew. And they're 3 businesses that highly complement each other. Because if you buy a house, who do you work with? A realtor.
Correct.
Right. So if you own investment property and you're out of state, or you put 50% down and you don't want to deal with it, who do you hire? A property manager. And if that house needs work, who do you hire? A contractor.
Yeah.
So they naturally overlap. Yeah. And we're good at all 3 of them. We really are, and I'm very passionate about it. So it never feels like work. And that's why, that's why you basically run the show with the management company. That's why my brother helps me with the construction company, because I know I can't do it all by myself, and I surround myself with good people. But I enjoy doing all 3 of them.
And you also have a high expectation.
You don't say.
Yeah, in a good way. I think this, to circle back to what we discussed, I think your experience as an athlete taught you to sort of push yourself, to strive to do better, to continually improve, to not just rest on your laurels and coast.
Yeah, because if you think about your favorite sport, like what's your favorite sport?
Football.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the quarterback's not completing his passes, what do they do to the quarterback? They bench him.
Yep.
Right? Like, Mr. Quarterback, you're a great guy, but you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
I need you to complete your passes. So that's how I think about it with business. Like, you're a great dude. I need you to be on top of things.
Yeah.
Like she's a great girl. You got to do your job. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
So
to wrap it up, what you do, so many different things. What do you get the most enjoyment out of? What do you really like about your work week? What really gives you that satisfaction where you think, man, I'm so glad I'm not back on Wall Street still in the trenches. I'm so glad whether it's like on a construction site at 8 a.m. watching an excavator, or helping a client close on a property.
So there's a couple of things I like. The first is I honestly like helping people make money. Well, whether that's helping them buy a house and it's a new construction house and it's turnkey and they're happy because they're going to make money, or they bought a property, or they bought a home to live in and they're ecstatic because they're going to build a family there, or if I'm helping somebody sell because, they inherited from their mom who passed away, so like that gives me a lot of happiness. Or like helping people build portfolios. We have a bunch of clients, like they've been with us from the beginning, and we help them build a portfolio, like one house at a time.
Yeah.
Or conversely, like we have some clients where realtors have referred those clients to us for the management. And then we in turn just tell the realtors, hey, like there's this property coming, like make sure your client knows about it, or whatever. Like they keep buying more property through their realtor, and we just help them with the management, and they're happy. So those two things have given me a lot of happiness. I do enjoy the construction. Construction's fun because it's like you're constantly solving problems every day.
Yeah.
And unless it's new construction has plenty of problems. But new construction, there's not as many surprises.
Right.
You know, like a renovation, you take a wall down, like there's a main waste line coming through the wall. Well, we got to move that. And then it's just constant problem solving, constant. And you deal with guys who are like animals sometimes. Like we just, like I'm not going to name the job. We have a job that we're running. One of the trades, the guy just peed all over the floor.
Wow.
Like, oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
You know, so you deal with like animals sometimes, or they pee in like the sump pump pit. You know, but what I love, and I get a million compliments about this at Tverdov Housing, like the energy is very good in here. It's very, for as intense as I am, it's relaxed. It's like people tell me, you could be yourself in here. We crack lots of jokes. We're you know, borderline inappropriate. But guess what? You could be yourself. And you know what? You know what's like that? Where that's also a thing is in a locker room in sports.
Yeah, I see.
You know, like in sports, like you're clowning on some guy the way he's dressed, the way he doesn't mean you know, it's not done like maliciously. You're just
with affection.
You're being yourself. You're making a joke, right? So like when I worked in corporate America, they suggested Jen, you know, be one of the people that can get a pie thrown in their face to raise money for kids with cancer. I kid you not, Jen reported that person to HR. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. This one clown, I forgot her name because clown, was doing a presentation and there was a snowman on the PowerPoint. And she's like, so take the snowman, for example. She's like, oh, excuse me, snow person.
Oh my gosh.
So like if you're listening to this and that's you in corporate America, like I wish I could grab you and shake you. Like, what the hell did you turn into?
Yeah.
But I think these people turn into this because they make a lot of money. So what's the first thing they do? They buy the most expensive house they can. Now they're trapped commuting an hour and a half each way into the city. They hate their job because a lot of their jobs are it's pushing paper, right? And in order to get another promotion, they have to brown nose and kiss their bosses behind.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. They have to walk up the corporate ladder. And
like, can they make a joke? I don't know how this person's going to take that joke, Andrew. So I better just be. I better pretend I'm somebody I'm not at this company.
Just soulless.
Soulless. Yeah. So like, you know, it's like when we're out in the construction field. Not that I like cussing, but guys are like ripping each other left and right. Like, you stupid blah blah. You know.
Yeah.
So I like that. It's like you could be yourself, and I've always told people who work here, like, and you know this, like you could be you. Like this, if there's another version of Andrew, then you are a really good poker player because you could be yourself here. Like that's how I feel. So, and that's the perk about being a small business owner.
Yeah. As a small business owner myself, that was one of the main drives, was to not have to be such a stuffed shirt, you know?
Well, and now with me, it's fun because, you know, we do well. We don't take on every client.
Yeah.
You know, and the people who treat us poorly, we're like, okay, see ya. Like we, you know.
So lastly, what are some of the challenges you still face? I initially said, what do you dislike, but what are some of the challenges that you're looking at, that you're sort of coming across now that you have this growth behind you, now that you've done what you've done?
Running a business is like playing in a game that never ends.
I like that.
There's constant challenges, right? There's staffing challenges. There's regulatory challenges. There's there's challenges with like people, right? And like you're playing chess because you're like, okay, that person's probably on their way out. It's like I got to prepare for this, right. And like, and then there's client challenges. You know, the same client keeps ripping your team to pieces. Like, okay, well, do we make money on that client? Like, how much time do we spend on that client? Are they a pleasure to work with? Do they listen to us? Right? Because like, great, we make money off of them. But if they're going to make that person quit, and now I have to spend 6 months training someone and hiring someone, that'll cost me money. So like, is this client really making us money?
Right. Not everyone's cut out to be a business owner.
No.
You know, because you got to worry about the paper clips, the printer paper.
Well,
every facet, you have to sort of be aware of what's going on.
Yeah. So like the mirror in our bathroom was broken for 2 weeks, guys. Right? Guess who put the mirror back up? Me.
Pete did.
Right? Because like, God forbid anybody else do, but everyone else is looking at this like, this isn't my office. This isn't my job. And in a corporation, I'd be like, you know, why hasn't the janitor done this?
Mm-hmm.
I am the janitor.
Right.
Who takes out the garbage? I mean, you guys help sometimes, but I do.
Yeah.
Who makes sure that the office is cleaned monthly? I schedule it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so
it's a lot.
Who does sales? Who does accounting? Who does HR?
Yeah.
You know, who writes the policy for the company?
Who's tweaking things and revising them?
And then who's doing marketing?
Yeah.
Who's you know, so you do so much as a small business owner.
Yeah.
I think if you're not passionate about it, you won't make it. So thankfully with me in this business, I'm incredibly passionate about it. Love helping people. And honestly, with housing, even with the rentals, man, I love delivering a good rental product, a nice apartment. Yeah, it's going to rent high because it's a nice place. Yeah. And we're going to do a damn fine job managing it. And the person who moves in is happy as hell. Like, that puts a smile on my face. And that's real. Like, when you work at a big company and you're just pushing paper, you don't see an end result to your work.
You don't see the fruits of your labor.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
You know?
It's certainly not for everyone. Do you feel like you can shut off sometimes, or do you feel like as a small business owner, to some degree, you have to sort of always be on?
I think me personally, it's very hard to turn off. And because the dangerous part is I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So like, I relax sometimes by doing work, and I know that upsets my wife, but like,
it's just how you're built.
Well, so, you know, yeah, that is how, that's right. But like, so I could sit on the couch. So I'll tell you guys what, like on the weekends, I try to be a bum. I really do. Like, so that, like, I quote unquote relax, but like, I'm on my laptop sometimes, watching, not, just the TV's on, right? So I'm like, well, I wonder about, 2 quarters from now. And then all of a sudden a question pops in my head, and I email you at like 8:30 at night. Like, you don't need to answer this till Monday, but that's why, because you're constantly thinking. And now Tverdov Housing is not one business. It's really 2, plus we have a construction company.
Yeah.
That's a different entity. So it's 3, so like, I'm constantly thinking about all the different stuff. And at the end of the day, for me, where the company's grown to is like, how can we be the most profitable, but also the most efficient? And we're at the stage that we're at, we want to work with A and B clients and A and B properties. And if you have some C's, we'll help you turn them to A's and B's. Mm-hmm. But if you call up our management company and just want us to be a bulletproof vest and grind my property managers down, we ain't the place for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've seen a lot of the last 2 years, like, as you know.
Yeah.
And then as a realtor, I've realized like I am very good in New Brunswick. I know New Brunswick probably better than anybody.
Yeah.
I do work in other towns, but I hammer marketing in New Brunswick. I have like almost 250 buyer clients in New Brunswick.
Yeah. I mean, you're very diligent about the cold calls. I mean, I overhear it here in the office weekly. Pete will call people, and he just somehow spins something out of nothing. It's impressive.
Do you want to sell your house? No? Why not? No, I'm joking.
No, but you do have a knack for creating whatever it is, opportunity, business, action out of nothing. Hitting the bricks, hitting the phone, and just your knowledge, your skill set, creating something from that.
Well, that goes back to football, though. Like, because it's in football, like, you have film on Monday. You watch film, right? And then Tuesday you practice. And then Wednesday you practice. And maybe you watch a little bit more film. And then Thursday you practice. And then Friday you rest. And Saturday you play in the game. You play your guts out. And win or lose, the next week comes.
Yeah.
And then Monday's film again. Then Tuesday's practice. And there's lifts in between. You got to go to class. Like, it's literally like bang, 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 bang every hour.
Yeah.
So, and my dad's like that too, dude. You think I have my dad's 60 and is like an 18-year-old with his energy.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen, he's been in here. So like, so like with New Brunswick, like that's what I've learned from like some really good realtors. I'm a big believer in this. You have to focus as a realtor in like one spot. So some people, they're luxury. Like, I could think of those people off the top of my head. Some people, they dominate in certain towns. I could think about that off the top of my head. Some people only deal with first-time home buyers or senior citizens or whatever. Like, and with all the other businesses that we run, I don't have time to focus on all that. It's like, people know, like, New Brunswick, Pete Tverdov.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they see our signs everywhere. They see my face, my ugly face everywhere on the signs. Like, they, so I get people who call me like, can you sell my house?
Yeah.
I don't have to sell them on me. Like they know,
Yeah.
and they see all the work I put in.
Your name or the name of the company speaks for itself.
Yeah, and then when I start talking to them about, like, I could quote them over the phone basically what their house is worth. Who could do that?
I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You know? So and that's because I'm passionate about it. Like to the point, like if someone brings up an address, I might know who the neighbor is that owns it.
Yeah.
You know? So like, yeah, like that's how I am with New Brunswick. But if you called me up like that about Piscataway, I could sell the house, but like I don't know who the neighbor is. I don't know. I'd have to look up the street, like, which is normal, by the way. You know, like, but what I know about New Brunswick is far and away more than anybody.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting, Pete. And like I mentioned, I think the point we wanted to achieve with this podcast was for someone on the outside looking in at your company or maybe at you as an individual, how did it come about? You know, what are some of your experiences and your history? And I think you've elaborated on that. So if you had any other comment, feel free, but that's all the questions that I had for you.
All right. That wasn't bad. I think I would end with, I've been looking for people at this company who like match my energy and like my vision and who are hungry. Like obviously like you've gotten it for many years, you know, and there's some other people who've been here, you know, for a couple of years now or, you know, who kind of share in that vision. And that's what I want around here. And that's what I've learned. I've learned a hell of a lot, man. I own a brokerage. It's a small brokerage, and I like completely stopped recruiting realtors, to be honest. Like I want hungry people who want to make money as a realtor.
And don't want to be content with
I sell one house
9 to 5.
Yes, I don't want that. I call it, I say to my kids, they don't really get it yet. I'm like, girls, I want killers. That's who I want in my company, killers. You know, because that's like, that was a football term. We want somebody on defense who would take your head off if you came across the middle on a pass play. So like, that's what I want in the business world. I want killers, like people who just want to have fun, put in the work. And if we do that, we're going to keep growing. Like the best is yet to come because now we're starting to get into development a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been managing like, you know, 2 families, you know, 4 families, right? I've been selling those. What happens if I figure out how to build 30, 50, 100 units?
It's a game changer.
Big time. Yeah. And then we manage it. We're building it. Or what happens, like, because I see this now. I was talking to Mike, my brother, about this. These people that sell these 2-family houses, new construction in Elizabeth and Newark and Irvington and East Orange. Like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like, why am I not doing that? So, I could talk all day about this, but yeah, in a nutshell, super passionate about real estate. That's why I had the podcast, right? Like, we do free seminars. I try to show my face a little bit, and I figured, why not have a real estate investor-centric podcast in New Jersey? Cannot be any more specific than that. And we're just going to talk about real estate investing. I'm going to pour my heart out to people, and you know, hopefully they get something out of it and they grow. And if you know if they want to work with us, cool. If they don't, that's fine too. That's not why I did the podcast. So I'm going to leave it at that. Andrew, I do appreciate all the questions. Those were pretty good. I can't read your chicken scratch handwriting there. But
you're not meant to.
It was pretty good. But anyway, so we'll leave it with that, guys. I appreciate you listening. If you liked it, please make sure you subscribe. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the New Jersey Real Estate Investor Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time.